Good morning, everybody. I want to welcome you here to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So we're here with the series that we're running called the 31 Albums That Introduced Me to These Groups. So this is July 8th. This is album number 24 on the list. So going up the list, this is the 24th. And I've kind of ranked these albums. So you're going to go from your 31st favorite all the way to your first favorite. These are all albums that basically, they were the first albums that I listened to this by these bands. And the album actually became the introduction to the band. Now I do have a couple of groups and couple of not really, a couple of groups that I kind of listened to throughout the time period that I never really got into any specific album, was just songs here and there. A couple of these bands include like Thin Lizzy and The Who. So they're both bands that really didn't have an album that introduced me to them. It was more or less their music on the radio and here and there and bits and pieces by other people that kind of got me into the band. So I didn't include them in this list because there was no specific album. So in the case of this band or this group or this artist, Pete Townshend's this Empty Glass. So this is the introduction album for me for this guy, which is kind of funny because I knew this album in his time period. I knew some of his other stuff too, little bits, but never really followed him too much, even though you would think it would be an obvious thing because of The Who. I didn't, and then I recently purchased this album not too long ago, and this has really kind of launched him for me as an artist. Now I know he has other stuff, and I will look for that stuff and get into it. Some people suggest that he has better other stuff than this. I actually like this quite a bit. I know this isn't the favorite of some people, but I like it. So this is Empty Glass by Pete Townshend. The thing I like about this album, even though it's kind of a poppy album, and I'm not going to say too much about this album because I recently did a look back on it. If you want to see that, you can go back last Monday and see the look back at a classic rock album. The thing I like about this album, even though it's a little bit on the poppy side, it does have its riffing and really catchy hooks on it at parts throughout the album. I like the lyrics for the most part. I do like Pete Townshend's voice quite a bit as well. And there's some catchy songs here. There's kind of an attitude on the album, which I also like. Not a huge attitude like you would get with The Who, but it does have a bit of an attitude here, as Pete Townsend always has an attitude. I do like the album cover, and the back cover I even like even more. Actually, quite an interesting cover altogether. This one's a little bit different. He's showing him almost like he's ready to kill somebody. But yeah, overall, I think it's a solid album. Lots of it's got some, of course, radio friendly songs. Sorry, I'm getting all tongue tied here, but it does have some deeper cuts, which are also quite good as well. I guess I should take out the glasses if I happen to have left them here, which I happen to do. Look at that. Right? Sometimes it works. So there are a few tracks on here that I do like that I never knew about until I got the album. And this is part of the reason why I like to buy and collect albums, because the radio doesn't play these songs. They only play the hits. And in his case, they probably only played the two, Let My Love Open the Door and Rough Boys. I like Cats in the Cupboard. This is one of my favorite tunes from him now. And I would not have discovered that if I hadn't been listening to albums of him. Just going by the radio stuff or what's played on the internet, probably would never have heard of that song. So, that's part of the reason why I do it this way. Gonna Get Ya, I like that too, quite a bit. But overall, this is a strong album. I don't think it's a masterpiece by any stretch, but it's definitely, I think, a high 2, maybe even a strong 1. Could go up as high as that. But definitely an album that was going to be on this list. Wasn't quite sure where it was going to end up. Because it's still fairly new to me. Fairly new meaning it's been on my playlist for about 5 months But usually for me, it takes about a year before I really solidly get into some of these albums. So anyways, Pete Townshend's Empty Glass coming in number 24 on July 8th. And I hope you've enjoyed this episode of 31 albums that introduced me to these groups. And we're doing that for the month of July. Hope to see you tomorrow on July 9th for album number 23. And we will see you then. Take care and have yourself a good one. Goodbye.